जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन जमुनातीरा वनचारी जमुनातीरा वनचारी जयो राधा माधव जयो कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव जयो कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जयो राधा गिरिधारी श्री राधे जयो राधे जयो राधे जय श्री राधे जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिताई जय गौरानिताई निताई गौर हरि बोल निताई गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य श्री श्री अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमते इसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. So welcome everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam session. We will be reading Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The organizers of the Vedanta Sammelan repeatedly asked Prabhupada and his party to play a larger part in the Pandal program. We are reading from Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita, India Dancing While White Elephants. So, organizers of the Vedanta Sammelan repeatedly asked Prabhupada and his party to play a larger part in the Pandal program. The scheduled discourses were mostly on Mayavada philosophy. God is impersonal, all religious paths are equal and lead to the Supreme One. All is one, we are all God. Such dry speculations could not hold the public's attention, and the Sammelan organizers daily requested the devotees to hold Kirtana in the Pandal. But with so much other preaching, Prabhupada preferred holding programs of his own in private homes around the city. The devotee asked Prabhupada about the Mayavad slogan, and Mayavad slogan he saw posted, Tat Tvam Asi, with the English translation underneath, you are that too. This was a favorite saying of the impersonalists who imagined that the living entity is God, Prabhupada said. He explained elaborately the distinction between God and the living entity and told how God, when he appears, displays certain unmistakable characteristics that identify him as the supreme personality of Godhead. These yogis will just talk and talk Vedanta. Prabhupada said, it is simply mental speculation, and they never come to any conclusion. They'll go on speculating for years and lifetimes, but will realize God simply by eating. And from the plate of prasadam before him, he took a sweet and popped it into his mouth. In the midst of his activities in Amritsar, Prabhupada continued to think of his spiritual children in various places throughout the world, and he regularly wrote them. To the devotees in Calcutta, he wrote, I am very much anxious to hear what you are doing there and if you have made any life members by this time. He asked them to register ISKCON with the government and try to establish a permanent center there. To his disciples in Bombay, he wrote, I am very anxious to know your situation, whether you have removed to the Rama temple or where you are stationed now. To Karandhar in Los Angeles, he wrote, I hope everything is going on well with you in our Los Angeles World headquarters. Please send me a report of your general activities and also your governing body commission activities. Please offer my blessings to all the members of our temples. How is the deity worship being carried on? Replying to Upendra in the Fiji Islands, regarding worship of demigods, the whole Hindu society is absorbed in this business. So unless our preaching work is very vigorous, it is very difficult to stop them. To Bhavananda in New York, please conduct the Samkirtan program regularly, and that will give me great pleasure. Regarding our new temple in Brooklyn, Krishna has given you very good chance to serve him. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we'll begin with reading the verse for today. It is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 11, and today's verses 13 and 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridiyantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti sruhitsatam Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. We can recite this first and क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मपुरुष पुराणः साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिरजः परेशः नारायणो भगवान् वासुदेवः स्वमायायात्मनि अवधीयमानः यथा नीलः स्थावरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मा स्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशेत् इवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मपुरुष पुराणः साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिरजः परेशः नारायणो भगवान् वासुदेवः स्वमायायात्मनि अवधीयमानः यथा नीलः स्थवरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मस्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशेत् एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मपुरुष पुराणः साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिरजः परेशः नारायणो भगवान् वासुदेवः स्वमायायात्मनि अवधीयमानः यथा नीलः स्थवरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मस्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशेत् एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः. Are there any volunteers who would want to recite this?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam. I am trying to recite.
Dandavad Pranam Prabhuji, please.
Kshetragyatma Purusha Puranaha Sakshat Swayam Jyotirajah Paresha Narayano Bhagavan Vasudevaha Samayayatmanya Vidiyamanaha Jatha Nila Sthavaro Rajo Angamanam आत्मस्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशेत् एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञात्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः. हरे कृष्ण माताजी.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी धन्यवाद प्रणाम.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam.
क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मपुरुषः पुराण साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिरजः परेशः नारायण भगवान् वासुदेवः स्वमाययात्मन्यवधीयमानः यथा नीलः स्थावरजङ्गमानम् आत्मस्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशेत् एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Vita Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam.
क्षेत्रज्ञात्म पुरुषा पुराणः साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिर अजा परेशः नारायणो भगवान् वासुदेवा स्वामाययात्मन्या अवधीयमानः यथा नीलः सा स्थावरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मस्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशेत् एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवा क्षेत्रज्ञात्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः. Thank you. Hare Krishna beta.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'll also try.
Yes, please, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Kshetragnam Atma Purusha Puranaha Sakshat Swayam Jyotir Aj Paresha Narayano Bhagwan Vasudeva Swamaya Atmani Avidya Yamana यथा नीलस्थावरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मस्वरूपिणे निविष्टस्तेय एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेव क्षेत्रज्ञान आत्मदम् अनुप्रविष्टः। थैंक यू माताजी। हरे कृष्णा।
You, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? So we may begin with synonyms and the translation and the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Kshetragnaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atma, all-pervading, present everywhere. Purushaha, the unrestricted controller who has unlimited power. Puranaha, the original. Sakshat, perceivable by hearing from the authorities and by direct perception. Swayam, personal. Jyotihi, manifesting his bodily rays. The Brahman effulgence. Ajaha, never born. Pareshaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narayanaha, the resting place of all living entities. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead with 6 full opulences. Vasudevaha, the shelter of everything, manifested and non-manifest. Swamayaya, Mayaya, by his own potency. Atmani, in his own self or in the ordinary living entities. Avadhi ya manaha, existing as the controller. Yatha, as much as. Anilaha, the air. Sthavara, of non-moving living entities. Jangamanam, and of the moving living entities. Atmaswarupena, by his expansion of as the supersoul. Nivishtaha, entered. Ishet, controls. Evam, thus. Paraha, transcendental. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudevaha, the shelter of everything. Kshetragnaha, known as Kshetragna. Atma, the vital force. Idam, this material world. Anupravishtaha, entered within. Translation: there are 2 kinds of Kshetragna: the living entity, as explained above, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is explained as follows. He is the all-pervading cause of creation. He is full in himself and is not dependent on others. He is perceived by hearing and direct perception. He is self-effulgent and does not experience birth, death, old age, or disease. He is the controller of all the demigods, beginning with Lord Brahma. He is called Narayana. He is the shelter of living entities after the annihilation of this material world. He is full of all opulences, and he is the resting place of everything material. He is therefore known as Vasudev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his own potency, he is present within the hearts of all living entities, just as the air or vital force is within the bodies of all beings, moving and non-moving. In this way, he controls the body. In his partial feature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters all bodies and controls them. Purport. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto matta smritir gnanam apohanam cha. Every living being is controlled by the Supreme Living Being, Paramatma, who resides within everyone's heart. He is the Purusha avatar, who creates this material world. The first Purusha avatar is Mahavishnu, and that Mahavishnu is the plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna's first expansion is Baladev, and his next expansions are Vasudev, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. Vasudev is the original cause of the Brahma Jyoti And the Brahma Jyoti is the expansion of the rays of the body of Vasudeva. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadandakoti कोटिष्व अशेष वसुधादि विभूति भिन्नम तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलम अनंतम अशेष भूतम गोविंदमादि पुरुषम तमहम भजामि. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete, and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. Brahma Samhita 540. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is thus described in Bhagavad Gita. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham tesva avasthitaha. By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Bhagavad Gita 9.4. This is the position of the plenary expansions of Krishna as the all-pervading Vasudev, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Veer Krishna Das Goswami Niti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I'll just read the translation one more time and stop sharing the screen then. There are two kinds of Kshetragna, the living entity as explained above, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is explained as follows. He's the all-pervading cause of creation. He's full in himself and is not dependent on others. He's perceived by hearing and direct perception. He's self effulgent and does not experience birth, death, old age, or disease. He's the controller of all demigods, beginning with Lord Brahma. He's called Narayana, and he's the shelter of living entities after the annihilation of this material world. He's full of all opulences, and he's the resting place of everything material. He is therefore known as Vasudev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his own potency, he is present within the hearts of all living entities, just as the air or vital forces within the bodies of all beings, moving and non moving. In this way, he controls the body. In his partial feature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters all bodies and controls them. So we are in the chapter 511, Jadabharat instructing King Rahugana. So when we talk about Jadabharat, King Rahugana had a lot of questions, and after hearing Rahugana's questions in the previous chapter, Jadabharat replies in this sections. So from the beginning of the chapter, Jadabharat mentions that the wise don't speak on material subjects. Rahugana gave an example, though Rahugana gave the example of the pot heated by fire, in which rice is being cooked in milk. In this example, there's a connection between the pot and the fire. But the liberated Atma is the spiritual particle and does not touch the material senses. Fatigue of the body, it does not mean that the soul is also fatigued. Only a conditioned jiva covered by the material body experiences that fatigue due to fatigue in the body. And so the wise don't speak on material subjects. Though inexperienced, you may speak like an experienced man. So an experienced person discerns the truth. And even Vedavadis generally don't discuss tattva. So people interested in material activities are inclined towards material sacrifices, which are explained and expounded in the Vedas. For such people, pure discussions on the absolute truth is generally that do not arise in them. And the Vedas are insufficient. For one who realizes that material happiness is insignificant, like a dream, the Vedas, though an excellent source it becomes insufficient means for understanding the highest truth, that is the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So why do people engage in material happiness despite of being enlightened by devotees? Because the mind causes material entanglements. The mind expands through the senses, and the characteristics of the mind is it's endowed with pious dualities, pious and impious, or pious and sinful impressions. Mind is always attached to material sense enjoyment. Mind is conducted by the modes of nature. It is also subject to transformations of lust and anger. And mind is chief among the 16 elements. It is the cause of different types of bodies in higher and lower positions with different names. And mind covers on the jiva, which is made by Maya. It deceives the jiva, confuses the jiva on the wheel of repeated birth and death, creates unavoidable distress, happiness, and illusion over and over during the course of time. And samsara is also caused by the mind. So the mind makes the jiva wander through different species of life in different conditions, and the mind is the cause of bodily appearance, bondage, and liberation as well. So how can mind be the cause of opposite conditions, bondage as well as liberation? Mind causes both bondage and liberation. There was an example given of the lamp. Attached mind is when the mind is absorbed in sense gratification, it brings about conditional life and suffering. And detached mind, when the mind becomes unattached to the material enjoyment, it becomes the cause of liberation. So when the flame of a lamp burns improperly with that flickering wick, the lamp is blackened. And detached mind, when the lamp is filled with ghee and is burning properly, there's this bright illumination. So verses before this are talking about the functions of mind, the 5 knowledge senses, 5 working senses, false ego. And then there's this unlimited transformation of the mind. So the liberated soul is absorbed in the Supreme Lord. This is the difference between the liberated and the conditioned soul. The liberated Jiva, who is the Lord, Kshetragna, can see the transformations of the mind which are made of Maya, existing since time immemorial, sometimes manifest in their wakeful and dreaming state, sometimes disappear during sleep, deep sleep or trance. So the conditioned jiva, like us, absorbs himself in the conventional world of samsara, and but the liberated jiva absorbs himself into the supreme, who has the following characteristics, and those characteristics are being talked about here in this verse. The characteristics are the all-pervading. The Kshetragna's characteristics are he's all-pervading cause of creation, Atma. Purushaha, the unrestricted controller. Puranaha, the original. Sakshat, perceived by hearing and direct perception. Swayam Jyotir, self-effulgent. Ajaha, not experiencing birth, death, old age, and or disease. Swayam Jyotir, Pareshaha, controller of all the demigods. Narayanaha, shelter of the jivas after the annihilation of this world. Bhagavan, he's full of all opulences. Vasudeva, the resting place of everything material. Swamayayatmani avadhiyamanaha, present within the hearts of all living entities by his own potency. So the example is given here as just as the air enters and controls all moving and stationary beings in the form of prana, Lord Vasudev, the knower of all bodies, enters all bodies and controls them. So let me ask something from everybody. If I were to tell you that without moving an inch, you could meet the most important person in your life, the one who's been with us in every lifetime, every joy, every thrilling space, every heartbreak, would you want to meet him? The surprise, and the answer I'm sure is going to be yes. The surprise here is we don't have to travel anywhere. We don't have to fast. We don't have to even close our eyes. He's there. He's already there, right inside our heart, watching, guiding, loving from the very beginning, the time immemorial. But what is the problem? That we can't see him. We can't experience him. It is because most of us live our whole lives without truly actually noticing it. So this discussion of today's verse is about the Paramatma, ever-present companion, the Supreme Soul, the Paramatma, and the difference between Paramatma and us, the tiny souls. Now, actually, these verses, they're 2 verses, and these verses will take us beyond believing in God. It is to actually knowing who He is, where he is, what is our relationship to him, and what this relationship truly means. So what we are understanding in one line, it can be that God is not far away. He's already here, living in our hearts, waiting for you to notice him. Yesterday, when there was this huge group of all devotees watching Mahavatar Narsimha. At that time, this very beautiful aspect of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam it is, that Hiranyakashipu asks Prahlad, where is your Krishna? Is he in this pillar? So Prahlad, the Bhakta Prahlad mentions that it is, you find people who are not present. Someone who is already present, where are you going to find them? Because they are here everywhere. So that reminds that God is not far away. He is already here, living within our hearts and waiting for us to notice him, like two birds sitting in that two-bird example, which Srila Prabhupada often mentions. So this verse is a conversation or a part of a dialogue between Jarabharat, the spiritually realized sage, and King Rahugana, who at first was proud and misunderstood the nature of the soul. Jarabharat is explaining that there are two Kshetragna, two knowers of the body. One is the Jiva. In Bhagavad Gita 13:13, we have this instruction directly given to us by Krishna. One is the Jiva, the tiny individual soul, aware of his own body, and the other is the Paramatma, the supreme soul, aware of all bodies. So understanding this difference actually changes everything. It tells us who we are and who God is, and how we are eternally connected. The two Kshetragnas, the Kshetra being the field or the body, and Kshetragna is the knower of that field. So Jiva, in the verse 13:13 Bhagavad Gita, or 13:3, sorry, Bhagavad Gita, the Jiva knows the Jiva knows only its own field, own mind, own body, which probably is not even, we don't even know about our mind, our body, to be honest. But the Supreme Soul knows all fields. He's in everybody, every atom, the entire creation. Also, if we were impersonalist and if all of us were gods, then why is it so difficult to know about other person's mind? If Krishna knows our mind and heart and our body and everything, our soul. However, if considering this from the impersonalist point, why are we not? This is one refutation, that why are we not able to understand, let alone somebody else's mind, but our mind itself? Our mind is so complex that we are suffering day and night because of its atrocities. So if you and I both are Krishna, or both are supreme souls, and there is no soul, but everybody becomes supreme and everybody gets merged, if we understand this philosophy, even logically, it doesn't make sense because we don't know how the other person's mind works. So let's do a short reflection. You can practice it if you feel like sitting there. A reflection question on how in our daily life, how often do we remember God is actually with us? How often do we remember that God is actually with us inside our heart every moment? And if we start reflecting on that, can we also notice what changes in our moods and actions are there when we remember the Lord? When we remember that the Lord is actually with us. I think that's the safest feeling one can feel. So we learned that from the purport as well as the translation, Srila Prabhupada here mentions that we come to know about the qualities of Supreme Kshetragna. So let's walk through the qualities here. All pervading cause of creation. The Lord is the ultimate cause behind the creation, maintenance, and dissolution. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse number 10, also, Krishna says, under my supervision, material nature works. In the purport here, Srila Prabhupada writes how self-effulgent Krishna is. He shines with his own light, the Brahma Jyoti, the glowing effulgence of the impersonal Brahman. He's unborn and eternal. He's Ajaha, beyond birth, beyond death. And he's never bound by anything. And that is very, very not similar to us. We are always bound by something or the other. Supreme controller, even Brahma and Shiva also act under his will. So he's the supreme controller. And when everything destroys, when everything is finished, he's the ultimate shelter. All beings rest in him when the universe is dissolved, Narayana, the refuge. He's present in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. This is Krishna saying these words. As Paramatma, he witnesses, guides, and sustains, makes them remember, and also makes them forgetful. He sustains all beings. So if we actually know his greatness, and when we hear that every atom and every life form is pervaded by the Supreme, how does that affect the way we see other people? If Krishna in the form, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is present in everyone's heart, then how does that affect the way we see other people? Even those we might not really get along with. Those people whose by the sight we might get anxious. Oh my goodness, I didn't want to see them. How our perceptions would change when we understand that. How would that affect the way we see other people? This is a beautiful reflection which we can actually keep if we are to study Srimad Bhagavatam scrutinizingly. There's this air analogy, like just as air pervades all living bodies, moving and unmoving, the Lord pervades all beings. So we cannot see the air, but that is our life force. Without actually taking in and exhaling, inhaling and exhaling, our life would end. So we very well know that air is present by the effects we have. So without the air, our lives actually stop. So without the Paramatma, the body is just a matter. Now, without the Paramatma, the body is just the matter would mean that there is no soul? Yes. The soul, the Paramatma, always accompanies the soul. So can we just at least sit, can we, while we are sitting and listening, can we try and breathe? Close our eyes for a moment, take a deep breathing or take a deep breath and feel the air filling in our lungs. Can we also imagine Paramatma, who is unseen but essential? Quietly, he's sustaining everything, sustaining our very existence right now. So, this is the life force. And if we talk about the relationship between Jiva and Paramatma, we can't disconnect one from the other. Jiva is a part of the Supreme. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke, 15:17. Bhagavad Gita, Jiva is limited, he's forgetful, and he's bound by karma. However, we always have the superpower alongside us, the Supreme Soul, who is unlimited, all knowing, never bound. Perfection for the Jiva is in remembering the Lord, aligning with his will, and serving him. So instead of we seeing everything from the outer aspect, when we reflect inside, because Paramatma is sitting next to, very close to intelligence, almost like this. In that space, when we start focusing on the inside, we feel that by remembering the Lord and by aligning with his will and serving him, we can achieve perfection. Even in Bhagavad Gita Chaturshloki, Krishna says that I give that intelligence with which you can attain perfection, with which the ignorance can be removed. I give that light. So if we see this from the devotional perspective, we see that God is not distant. Yes, God has come and surrendered himself actually to us in his deity form. His Holiness Swam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj. Actually, I was listening to one of his lecture and he said that God actually surrenders the devotees in his deity form. So this is such a beautiful way of looking at the deities, that Krishna is waiting for us, or even though he doesn't need any service from us, but he's sitting whenever we are. It is all upon our discretion how we offer, how we change, how we take care of the deities at home or in the temple. So God is not distant. He's the closest companion we have. And we don't need to bring him in our life. He's already there. He's already present. So what bhakti is, uh, in all the scriptures, what we are reading here is bhakti is noticing, or bhakti is the art of noticing the Lord, speaking to him, serving him with love. How does it feel to hear when we just hear that the Supreme Lord is not far away? How does it feel? It feels, to me, it feels very secured that I'm not alone in the journey, and Krishna will guide me through if I'm sincere enough and if I have desire enough to approach him. So just imagine what feelings would arise in us when we realize that the Supreme Lord is not far away, but is already living with us, listening, caring, guiding. Do we really need, even from that mental health perspective, we often see there's this shame involved in a lot of things. There's this guilt. So these suppressed emotions, they become really big uh, when we go through life circumstances. However, when we actually reflect how God is seeing us in that space, Krishna actually picks the ones, like in example of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jagai and Madhai, the most fallen were chosen. So isn't it fascinating that in God's eyes, we are all equal, and he's waiting more than us. So in the practical application of this verse can come up as this truth actually changes how we live with this truth. How are we going to see that? We can respect all life, all living entities. We see others as temples of God. We also surrender ego, because what is this ego for us? This is actually a blockage. This ego is telling I am. Rather, where the reality is, I am nothing. I am nothing because within me, a very powerful super soul guides everything, not just for me, but for every living entity. So we remember that if we surrender ego, and if we surrender ego, we can surely live with devotion. So he's the witness of all our actions and thoughts, which is such a beautiful thing. So if somebody is witnessing us, we are so very careful about having a very beautiful image um, around our around who we live, um, in our congregations, in at our workplaces. We don't want to be seen as someone who has some issues. However, internally, until we actually sit in front of the witness, who in front of that individual, in front of that Paramatma, in front of that super soul who witnesses all our actions and thoughts, we can't be really true to anyone. So if we carried, just imagine if we carried this awareness of our Lord in our hearts just for the next 24 hours, as if he were our closest companion. Please reflect what would be different in our words, in our choices, and in our thoughts. What difference will it make from yesterday to today if we actually see that the Lord is sitting within us and guiding us? And I'm not alone. That would be such a beautiful understanding, actually. If we have time, we can do a very quick closing meditation here of the taking from the purport and the translation. So wherever we are right now, let's just sit comfortably and close our eyes. Let's take a deep breathe in and out, and let the mind settle. Let's bring our awareness to our heart. In our heart, let's imagine a warm golden light there that is steady, loving, eternal. It's not just an imagination, it's a reality. This is the Paramatma who's always been sitting with us. Whatever form we are having of this Paramatma, as Krishna, Vasudeva, Narayana, let's see him there. If nothing comes up, let's at least see the light that Krishna is providing. Let's feel his gaze, his acceptance, and his love for us. In our heart, let's say something to him. A gratitude, prayer, or even nothing. If nothing comes up, let's say thank you. Let's listen to his gentle response that he has for us. While holding this feeling, we can slowly open our eyes and remember that the Lord we just met is going to be with us from this moment onward. I'm repeating, God is not far away. He's already here, living in our hearts, waiting for us to notice him. Hare Krishna. I am going to stop here if there is anybody who wants to say or reflect or comment. Please feel free. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavata Pranam.
Danvat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much for explaining the verse so nicely. And in this regard, I just came to my mind two things. The transcendental quality of the Lord, or the contradictory nature of the Lord, as you've told, is very near at the same time, and as it is given, I think, in verse 5 of Ishopanishad. Tad ejoti, tanma ejoti, tad dure tadantike. That is showing in a material condition, if a person can walk, at the same time he cannot walk, it cannot be, but it is for the Lord.
Yes.
A similar way, he is within us, within very close to us, and he is the closest person for anybody. But at the same time, for a person who is not a devotee of the Lord, he is far, far away. In spite of throughout his life, he cannot find him. So this is the feature of the transcendental feature of the Lord. And we have to understand it, that by mere speculation or by our arguments with the material knowledge, we cannot know him. And Prabhupada has all along been told that we have to know him from what Krishna has told about. He himself has described who he is. So what better knowledge it can be if we do not hear from him, or from those who has realized him, for the pure devotees, who has got the Lord in their heart. So we must hear from them so that we can have a clear idea of the Lord. And only by their mercy and with the Krishna's mercy, Guru Krishna Prasadapai Bhakti Lodha, we can get it and we can realize the God in that way only. And no other methods of material speculation, or the yogis sometimes do that, but they realize only the Paramatma feature of the Lord, not the sweet, transcendental, loving relationship the devotee has with with the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
So this is my realization. Hare Krishna.
Very, very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. This is so beautiful to. That's so important, actually. And Jara Bharat here is talking from the bhakti perspective. He starts with the concept of soul, and considering soul, and until and unless we know that there is somebody higher, without Paramatma, there's no existence, actually. And this is beautifully said, Prabhuji, when you mentioned that the Lord is near and far. For a devotee, the Lord is never far. But for everybody, God is never far. However, it's the internalizing and reflecting and wanting to have God near us. It's so beautiful to see, isn't it, Prabhu? Like how Krishna interacts in our day-to-day lives. What is the hand of Krishna in it, and how he guides, and yeah, for a person who hasn't really accepted that Krishna is always with him, it's very difficult to believe, and then the mere speculations can go on and on for lives and lives. Thank you, Prabhuji. It's so
Hare
beautiful.
Krishna. Yes, thank you for that. And another thing is that by speculation, and we can never go to God, and because the God is beyond these material arguments, and there is also a famous verse on that. Tarko
Yeah.
Pratishtha. But we have to follow the Mahajanas. And
Yeah.
the other thing, difference between the Mayavadis, and we do that, they want to be God at the same time, but as you have told also, I think you have mentioned earlier that the God is in a higher position. We have to understand that. And we are part and parcel of the Lord. So we have some qualities of the Lord, some qualities same as the Lord. But that doesn't mean we are equal to God. That is only the foolish argument. And we should never lose our time just thinking on that. It is better
Yeah.
to accept what our Acharya has told, serve the Lord and enjoy they enjoy the blessing of the Lord and His association, and that is the goal of human life. Hare Krishna.
So true, Prabhuji. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay, if no one has, then we can finish the session.
Yes, Maji, it appears there's no other person. So, Vancha Kalpadabhascha Pipashintu Prevacha Putitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki
কি
Jai.
জয়
His Grace Radha Padma Devi Ki Jai. Srila
জয়
Prabhupada Ki Jai.
जय
Gaur Premanande.
হরি হরি বল
Srila
श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय
Ki Jai.
Prabhupada.